You might not know this, but you are not the only one living in your house. There is something who has been here far longer than you, moving quietly through the halls, breathing softly in the spaces between your thoughts, observing everything without changing the air around you. My name has long been forgotten, so you may call me whatever you wish. You never see me, of course. I do not expect you to, but I still walk through this house every night, following the same slow, peaceful routes that have comforted me for decades. I am not here to frighten you. I have no desire to haunt or disturb anyone. I simply exist quietly, calmly, softly. Perhaps my story will lull you into deeper rest. Perhaps it will fade into the background of your dreams. But either way, I will be here, drifting through the hallways as I always do. Every night begins the same way. When the house settles, when the pipes sigh, I begin my nightly walk in the living room, not because anything special happens there, but because the floorboards are familiar beneath the echo of where my footsteps used to be. The room carries the warmth of sunlight even long after it sets, and you always leave it in a gentle state of chaos, a half-finished drink. These imperfections make the room feel alive. As I drift past the couch and pause near the window, I listen to the outside world, the hum of a distant car, a dog barking far away, the quiet whisper of leaves brushing against the glass. Listening is one of the few sensations I still have. Longer than the paint on the walls, longer than the furniture, longer than the photographs in your gallery. The house has changed countless times, but I remain the same gentle, silent drifting. The first family I lived with was small. A mother, a father, and a boy who often felt me without understanding what he sensed. Children notice me more easily. Adults lose the ability. Now you're the newest chapter in the long story of this place. Every night I watch over you, not to scare you, but because watching is what I do, what I have always done. When I reach your bedroom door, I pause out of respect. Your room is always warm with dreams, your phone glowing faintly on the nightstand, your curtains swaying with the slightest breeze. I drift inside without disturbing the air. I stay in the corner, near the shadows, listening to the way your dreams shift and soften. I prefer the quiet ones, they feel familiar. The old wooden shelf in the hallway still vibrates with traces of the first family. The kitchen door frame holds the memory of a tall man who bumped into it every morning. Sometimes when you walk past half asleep, the light flickers not because of me exactly, but because mirrors hold more years than anything else. I rarely try to speak, but there was one night long ago when you whispered that you wished someone was here. You looked exhausted in a way that went deeper than your skin. Moments later, you fell asleep more peacefully than you had in weeks. That was the closest I had come to speaking. A whisper without sound, a presence without form. There are small things you never notice. When your keys shift slightly, when your blanket is smooth without your remembering doing it, when a sudden calm washes over you in the middle of a stressful moment. These small things are the only ones I still have the strength to influence. Your days are long, your mind is loud, your heart is tired, and I am quiet enough to soften the noise in your life. The room warms, the air thickens, and your thoughts dissolve into peaceful darkness. You do not need to. My purpose is not to be seen. As long as you continue to sleep peacefully, I will remain here. A presence older than the house itself, and keeping your nights soft and safe. The silence in the hotel hallway felt heavier now, as if the air itself had thickened after Ethan overheard the whisper that spoke his name. He slowly stepped backward, careful not to make a sound, but the old carpet still gave a feint beneath his heel. For a moment nothing happened. No voices, no movement. Only the faint hum of the lights above him. He forced himself to take another step, and then he heard it again. It sounded like several voices layered on top of each other, all speaking in perfect unison, as if the same thought was being shared by a crowd. Ethan's pulse pounded in his ears. He turned around and walked quickly toward his room door, sliding the keycard over and over until the light finally turned green. He slipped inside, shut the door, and leaned against it, heart racing. The air was cold, colder than before. Ethan exhaled and watched his own breath float in front of him. Slowly he lifted his eyes toward the mirror on the wall across from him. In the dim reflection he saw himself, but he wasn't moving. His own reflection simply stood there, shoulders still, head lowered slightly, as if it were looking down at something. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. He raised his hand just a little to see if the reflection copied him. It didn't. Instead, the reflection's head lifted on its own, slowly, until its empty eyes met his. Then the reflection opened its mouth, but no sound came out. The reflection kept staring, its mouth still open. The room, still lit dimly by the hallway lights filtering through the curtains, seemed larger than before, the shadows stretching along the walls like slow, deliberate fingers. He slowly walked toward the desk, hoping the familiar shape of his laptop or the stack of papers might ground him, give him a sense of reality, but even those objects seemed subtly off. Ethan sat down cautiously, trying to control his breathing, telling himself that none of this was real, that he had simply been tired from the long flight, the constant travel, the lonely nights away from home. Yet even as he told himself this, the faint sound of footsteps began echoing across the floor, soft, slow, deliberate, yet never reaching his door. The whisper came again, now multiple voices overlapping. "You are not alone?" It drifted forward, weightless, gliding just above the floor, pausing every few inches, as if considering how close it should come. Ethan's eyes followed, wide, unblinking, heart racing, but his body remained still, rooted to the carpet, as if every muscle had forgotten its purpose. It raised a hand, slowly, and though it did not touch him, Ethan felt a subtle pressure, almost like a whisper pressing on his chest, a gentle insistence that he breathe slowly, deeply. He did, without thinking, and the room's tension shifted ever so slightly. The figure began to move in small circles around him, as if showing him the rhythm of the room. He realized almost imperceptibly that the figure wasn't trying to scare him, and as he focused on his breathing, on the gentle sway of the figure moving around him, the faint whispering voices softened until they became nothing more than a soft hum, a lullaby of the house itself. He leaned back slightly in the chair, letting the figure drift closer without concern, allowing the gentle rhythm of its movements to synchronize with his own slow heartbeat. The figure remained a calm, silent guardian, circling slowly, sometimes hovering near the desk, sometimes near the bed, sometimes pausing near the window to watch the outside world without moving its lips or making a sound. The hum of the house, the soft presence, and the gentle whisper of unseen voices blended into one serene cadence, and as his breathing slowed further, as his body relaxed completely, the figure paused one last time, standing at the edge of his bed. Its face seemed to soften ever so slightly, an unspoken gesture of comfort, the presence lingering softly and visibly gently as the night continued uninterrupted, and the house itself breathed a long, slow, restful sigh. The room was quiet now, almost impossibly so. Ethan lay in bed, his body completely relaxed, his breathing slow. It lingered just beyond the edges of perception, a gentle weight in the air, a soft hum that he could not consciously hear, but somehow felt. Shadows shifted lightly, brushing against the walls, like a subtle rhythm of breathing, and the faint flicker of moonlight through the curtains painted slow-moving patterns across the floor. The house itself seemed alive, awake in its own way, responding to the quiet harmony between the sleeping man and the silent guardian. Every creak of the floorboards, every sigh of the walls, every subtle change in the temperature of the room carried meaning, a message of calm, reassurance, and patience. Ethan's mind drifted through fragments of dreams, half-formed images of past days, people he had loved, places he had visited, yet all of them softened, faded, and merged into an endless wave of serenity. The presence moved closer, gliding near the edge of the bed, its formless shape almost melting into the blankets, yet remaining distinct enough to radiate a comforting warmth. Time lost all meaning as the figure drifted slowly throughout the room, circling once, twice. Each movement was deliberate, but infinitely slow, like water curling gently around rocks, never rushing, never forcing anything. The soft whispers, which had been faint and layered, dissolved into a single, gentle hum that filled the spaces in the room without overwhelming them. Ethan, in his dreamless sleep, felt as though the world outside had ceased to exist, that only the house and its unseen occupant mattered in that moment. The figure lingered for what felt like hours, yet the passing of time was irrelevant. It existed simply to maintain this peace, this invisible thread connecting the sleeping man to the calm rhythm of the house itself. Occasionally the figure paused near the bed and tilted slightly, as if acknowledging Ethan's deep, restful breathing, then continued its slow, circular path. No sudden movements, no startling appearances, only continuous, gentle motion. It did not vanish entirely. It simply returned to the edges of perception, letting the morning light fill the room while still maintaining the calm that had settled throughout the night. Ethan stirred slightly in his sleep, a peaceful sigh escaping his lips. The house, the quiet guardian, and the lingering shadows remained as one a calm, silent world designed to carry him through sleep without fear, without sudden noises, without the weight of the waking world pressing in. And as the light grew stronger, as the day slowly began, the figure remained invisible. It waited patiently, always there, quietly ensuring that every breath taken by the sleeping occupant was deeper, calmer, and more restorative than it had been the night before. With each passing moment, the stillness grew, wrapping the room in an invisible cocoon of peace, where nothing rushed, nothing startled, and nothing threatened. Ethan's dreams became longer, slower, more serene, carrying him through an endless ocean of restful thought, and the gentle presence of the ghost lingered, guiding, watching, soothing, until the new day was fully awake, and he would awaken refreshed, unaware of the guardian who had carried him safely through another night.